DoD employee reached out to me and said, actually, there's a ton of evidence that this UFO thing is real. Started getting a lot of information from people and meeting with people, mostly in private, come to my house, let's talk. And that actually this is really a very heavy duty question. Actually, it's not the little green men question. It's like a much bigger question. And it's really bad. It's really dark. And then I stopped. Then I was like, I don't want to know anymore.
Just when Joe Rogan was coming to terms with the possibility that UAPs were not alien related, Tucker Carlson ends up on Joe Rogan's podcast and drops a bombshell that sounds eerily similar to a certain Air Force veteran's testimony about extraterrestrials.
Whistleblower David Grush blew open a discussion about interdimensional beings.
In terms of multidimensionality, that kind of thing, the quasi-projected from higher dimensional space to lower dimensional. It's a scientific trope that you can actually cross, literally, as far as I understand, but there's probably guys with PhDs that we could probably argue about that.
And it was Aleister Crowley who had this to say about these beings. Today they call them angels and demons, and tomorrow they'll call them something else. If you guys like this video, don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel where I will be updating all of you guys on not only anything between fallen angels, demons, and the paranormal, as well as esoteric symbols in both Hollywood and the music industry.
I always assume that a lot of this stuff is nonsense.
Here's what we know is that U.S. servicemen have died as a result of contact with or being in the proximity of these vehicles. And we know that because there are a lot of suits working their way through the VA system.
Yeah?
When there are measurable physical effects of a phenomenon, we can say conclusively the phenomenon is real.
Right.
And I guess we're sort of past the point of like, is it real? Yeah, it's real.
I'll be continuing to keep you guys updated on this phenomena where there are people getting sick and dying from contact with these aliens, whether they are physically touching them, like in the incident in 1996, or them getting hit with weaponry, vehicles, the technology in general. If you have not watched my video on fallen angels and demons and the difference between the two, I highly recommend it. I'll put it up here, or is it up here? One of these two spots. Go ahead and take a look at that if you haven't already, and understand that demons are pure darkness. They are the complete absence of light, whereas fallen angels still have a light about them, but it is a false light. It is a light that is in vain. These beings have existed since before us. There are people today that call them the Anunnaki, and they were called the Anunnaki a long time ago as well. Make no mistake, they are the sons of God. They are the first of the fallen.
So how did they do this accidentally? Study conscious interactions with and control of technology.
So I got this from someone in the U.S. government he sent me this. The above is 100% legit. I was read into this program but told never to tell anyone. It's now been released. As you can see, it began as a result of my old program, AATIP. I signed a document saying I would never talk about Kona Blue and similar efforts. I can't believe that AARO would have released it.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what we do know. There's enough going on in the skies, but not just the skies, underwater, that the U.S. military has been forced to respond to it. So, like, move aircraft from one place to another because there are too many of these objects in the sky. That's actually happened. Chris Mellon just wrote a long piece about it. It's forcing the government, DoD, to respond. There is a real effort and has been underway for a long time to keep the public from knowing about it. But the question is, like, what is it, actually? I mean, now is sort of the point where you have to ask, like, what is this?
What a time this could have been if Michael Heiser was on the earth just a little bit longer. You guys are not aware of Dr. Michael Heiser. He passed away from cancer in 2023 of February, I believe. He is the author of The Unseen Realm, as well as books such as Reversing Hermit, where he digs into the book of Enoch, the sons of God coming down and knowing the daughters of men and having children that are known as the Nephilim. If this concept is foreign to you, I highly recommend checking out this video that's up here somewhere, and it's going to go over what happened to the Nephilim when they died, aka the origin of the demons, aka the scorpions of the earth.
Like, for sure, the Kenneth Arnold sightings, that was really early on. That was like the early 1950s. He was seeing these flying saucers, these discs that were moving over mountains.
Well, right. I mean, the prophet Ezekiel writes about it in the first chapter, Wheels in the Sky.
Yeah, that's a crazy one.
Yep. The world is starting to wake up about this fact, isn't it?
Just, the Hebrew scriptures, like, it's all over every...
The Vedic texts.
Of course. So these are spiritual phenomenon. There's no evidence they're from another planet. I mean, I think that's the lie. that they're from Mars. So they're from here, and they've been here for thousands of years, whatever they are. And it's pretty clear to me that they're spiritual entities, whatever that means. They're supernatural, and which is to say, supernatural means above the natural.
Now that we're starting to peel away from aliens possibly being on other planets, and we're going into the spiritual side of these entities, because that's what they are. They are entities. Angels, that's where it gets interesting. If you look at the Nordic angels, the Pleiadians, or however you say their names, the whites as they are referred, where they are pale and tall and usually blonde hair, they look Nordic. Celestial bodies are different than earthly bodies. They can be both physical and spiritual. And why is it that so many of them were depicted as members of Star Trek?
So I just started getting a lot of information from people and meeting with people, mostly in private. Come to my house, let's talk. And I decided on the basis of what they told me, and then I talked to a lot of people about it, that actually this is really a very heavy-duty question. Actually, it's not the little green men question. It's like a much bigger question. And it's really bad. It's really dark. And then I stopped. Then I was like, I don't want to know anymore because it's not helping me. And
what information did you get that made you feel like it's dark?
Okay, so if they're spiritual beings, which I believe they are, it's a binary. They're either, you're on team good or team bad. You can assign any name to it you want, but what are these things? And I think some of them are bad. And if the U.S. government knows that, or elements, the people within the U.S. government, then they're serving a bad force.
So there's the point of contention. This is what made Tucker Carlson no longer want to learn any more about it. These demons and fallen angels are working with our government and probably other governments around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, they are a part of the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 16, verse 13 says, "And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet." Now we know these 3 big head honchos that are going to be big players in the end times. We know they got to work with our government. They have to. Otherwise, there would be no way for them to fit in the power structure. When you look at a frog and you look at a gray alien, what are the common denominators? Flat mouth and big freaking eyes. Is it possible that what Tucker Carlson found was a repeat of the Genesis 6 event? If we go back even further, 3 chapters before, in Genesis 3:15, when God prophesies to the serpent, saying, "I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, you will strike his heel." Yes, this is in reference to Jesus Christ. But if you read the first part of it, there's something else going on. Between the offspring of Satan and the offspring of Eve, Eve means living, or the mother of all living, if we were to find a better translation of that. If Eve over here is giving birth to the entire world, through her the whole world was born, right? And then through Satan had all of the minions, then it only makes sense that you have a seed war. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why we have alien abductions even today. It is all the same thing happening.
What makes you draw that conclusion that they're spiritual?
What's the obvious? Spiritual may be the wrong word. Supernatural. They're beyond nature as we understand it. Chart their physical behavior. It doesn't, it goes outside of what we understand about physics. No visible means of propulsion, coming at indescribable speed, hitting the ocean, continuing at speeds that are impossible undersea. If I take a 7.62 by 39 and shoot you at 50 yards underwater in a swimming pool, and it's even more intense in salt water because it's denser, you could catch the bullet, if it even makes it to you, right? So if you have a craft, any object underwater that's traveling at 500 knots as measured by sonar, right there you're challenging our understanding of physics. What is that? How can that be?
That's a good point.
So yeah,
they've tracked that? They've tracked things going 500 knots under the sea?
Yo, for sure. Oh, yeah. So
it's all so blurry, though.
So let's speak on this for a moment. I used to be a ghost hunter. I'm currently a demon hunter, as well, I guess, as an alien hunter and whatever else you want to call me. I fight the forces of evil. But when I used to document this stuff, just trying to record a demonic entity would cause my camera to blur. And if you go watch ghost hunting footage, which 99% of what they're bumping into is evil, their cameras will also malfunction. Our technology does not mix with the supernatural at all.
If the public were to know about it, it would be just disruptive. It'd be too scary. You don't want to scare people for no good reason. There's nothing we can do about it. And you also don't want to suggest that the U.S. military isn't capable of protecting the country, the homeland. And it does suggest that. If you can't control these objects in your airspace, and that's known, if they can't, that's known, okay, then that suggests a limit to the power of the U.S. military, and you don't want to tell people that because then they won't believe that they're safe. I get it.
Well, for anyone who thinks that the U.S. government has us completely safe, that's a lie. The government cannot protect us from these things. If God were to take his hand off of the situation and allow these entities to invade us in any way that they want to, we're screwed. Which, by the way, the locusts coming out of the pit of hell in Revelation, out of the abyss, that is God taking his hand off of those entities. Guys, if you're liking this video, please don't forget to hit like on it and comment down below if you have anything to add to this conversation. Have you been abducted by an alien? Do you know people that might have been abducted by any of these entities? That, my friends, is spiritual warfare made manifest.
Like, if I was from another planet or if I was some interdimensional being, I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the president. I don't know how much I'd give a shit about the government. I would probably look at this infantile race, this species, this bizarre territorial apes with thermonuclear weapons, this very weird species. I'd probably look at them as very chaotic. I wouldn't really have much concern for who's running it.
If they are fundamentally tied to us, then it makes perfect sense. I mean, look at Billy Carson right now talking about the Anunnaki and having ties to us. Why should we put the pagan take on a higher pedestal than any other take? Why are they coming back to us at all? The fact of the matter is they are coming back to us. Whether you look at it from an ancient pagan perspective or you look at it from a Christian perspective, fact is that these things are trying to come down and communicate with us. They are trying to continue abducting us. They want something from us. They're not done with us.
This is the thing that every society has written about. And in fact, that battle, that unseen battle around us, that spiritual battle, has been the basis of every society, of every religion, not just Christianity. So once you discard your very, very recent assumptions, relatively speaking, about how the world works, you're like, well, that kind of seems like the obvious explanation, right?
It's not that obvious to me.
If you want to see another resource on the other religions and the other gods that are out there, I have a video on that too. I'll go ahead and link above. And the video breaks down the basis for spiritual warfare. So very beneficial. I hope you guys watch it. We're also going to be going over predictive programming in some movies because I think the enemy is trying to speak to us in many different ways, not just in the heavens and not just below us, but also in our world as well. And so with that being said, I will see you on the next video. Take care and God bless.